we must look at Johnny Sexton. Peter O'Mahony saying yesterday he's actually changed rugby in Ireland. It's his last game in the Six Nations for his country, level on points with his good mate Ronan O'Gara, 557 for the all-time Six Nations points record. Probably will overtake that if he kicks 3 points or at any stage, which let's hope he will, which he should. But what has he done in your eyes for Irish rugby?
He's iconic, isn't he? I think the biggest thing about Johnny, before we get to what he's done for Irish rugby, is there was a number of flexion points in his career where I thought maybe this is the end of a very long but spectacular road. And each time I've thought that, he proved all of us wrong, because it wasn't. I remember it was a discussion in 19 with a whole lot of really good rugby guys from Leinster, some old heads there, and we all thought, look, he's been great, but he's finished. And he doesn't just reinvigorate, he reinvents. He gets better. And I think what he's done for Irish rugby is what he's done for Leinster for years. He demands standards. People, coaches do set standards, as Alan knows, but really it's when the players start demanding of each other and the players set super high standards and they hold each other accountable. That's when teams really grow and move and develop. Alan was part of a wonderful Munster side I know did those sort of things, and we've seen Leinster do it over the years. And Sexton has great sides, that Leinster and Ireland have had great sides. He has demanded even more week in, week out. And it's made people believe in themselves. It's made people believe, the rubbish that, we can't go out as favourites. Like those days are over. The rubbish that we can't take on big packs, those days are over. Like, what is it he hasn't done? And he has driven those standards as a leader. Sometimes he's grumpy. Sometimes we said, he shouldn't speak like that. He shouldn't show his frustration. But that guy is a winner. And for too long in Irish rugby, when I was there, we would deny ourselves the belief that we can win. And Johnny has given Irish rugby that unrelenting belief that the whole organisation can win, and the rest of the team is responding to it. And this is not a good Irish side. This is a great Irish team that I think will win the Grand Slam this weekend. Adding to it their incredible achievements, what they did in New Zealand and the November Internationals, and therefore Johnny's put himself and his team in a great position to go out at the World Cup in a really powerful position.
Yeah, Alan, even this week, he was all about process. It was nothing to do with him. He's just a born winner, isn't he? And he's going to be missed so much.
Yeah, he is. He's a once in a generational type player. I know maybe people would. I saw a lot of characteristics of what Johnny has in Ronan O'Gara, and I think they both similar in the temperament, the ability to bounce back from setbacks, the narkiness that both of them have and have had.
Absolutely.
Rog still has it, doesn't he, man?
That's right.
And I've always said this, they don't come around very often. Has there been another Ronan O'Gara in Munster? No, there hasn't. In the 15 years that I played with him and in the time since, there has been no one else that's been as consistently good and at that level. So they don't just grow on trees. And it's the same with Johnny Sexton. We've been talking about this now for 7 or 8 years. Who's going to replace Johnny Sexton? Who's going to replace Conor Murray when they go? Because Sexton, Murray, remember, for a number of years, world class. That's what we were saying. They were on, was it Line Tour 13, 17, should have both been there in 21 as well. But Sexton obviously wasn't selected. But there was 3 Lions Tours there that you could say they should have been, they deserved to be there. So Johnny's dominated this kind of arena and this level for a long time, and you don't just replace guys like that. We've had the debate, is what I'm trying to say, who's going to replace Johnny Sexton, and the gap. We talk a lot about the gap. So sensational player, but also character-wise, he's the type of guy who you want to play with but not play against, because you'd want to try and, as a wing forward, you'd be going after Johnny Sexton because you think he's narky, he's giving lip to the referee, he's vocal, he's in your face. But you love him if he's on your team. You love him if he's with Ireland or with Leinster. And I love the fact that Johnny Sexton wears his heart on his sleeve. That gives me a buzz. I would like to think I tried to do that myself. A lot of the times, sometimes it got me into trouble. But I love the fact that he's honest, he's straight up, and he's someone you'd like to be in the trenches with. So obviously, from a quality point of view, he's kicking, he's running, he's passing, he's a top-class player as well. But I think the added value with Johnny Sexton is that temperament and that aggression and that will to win and desire. It's very hard to coach that in players, Matt. He has it, so much of it, and he's been an absolutely outstanding leader for this group for a long time. I know he's captained this team for the last couple of years. I go back to the game in France with Italy when, you remember, he was taken off and Ireland were beaten by France. It was the rearranged game.
Yeah. And
he seemed to be sulking a little bit coming off, and people questioned his temperament and it wasn't the right behaviour and he should have been portraying something different. Andy Farrell came out more or less, said no issues with that. That's emotion. That's the passion I want. So he's had a few narky moments, but I love the fact that you can't beat this guy. You can knock him and knock him and knock him and lose, and he just wants to come back, and he inspires people around him. So, even I keep referencing New Zealand last year. I interviewed him at the start of that tour, and I remember just sitting down with him before the first test, and he made me start to believe that they're going to do this. Because I was a little bit glass half full. This is a daunting task, and Matt, no matter who you are, how good you are at any stage, going to New Zealand is really difficult, whether you're with your club side, and you've been there with Super Rugby as well, Matt. It's a tough place. And, he believed that they were good enough, they do their job, if they turn up, if they front up. And he made me start thinking, God, I'd love to be there. I'd love to be involved in this. And then they did it in the end. So his mental strength is phenomenal, and very humble guy away from it. People say this narkiness. There's two sides to sports people, Johnny is a real warrior on the field, and he's gentle, he's quiet, he's different off it, and he's very polite. And so I love that fact. And I referenced Ronan there. Ronan was so many characteristics the same, temperament-wise. And obviously, Rog delivered for numbers of years and got 124 or 5 caps for Ireland. Johnny Sexton's, over 100 caps as well. Iconic figures. And I think he deserves all the praise he gets, Johnny Sexton, because he's been a wonderful ambassador for this country.